Hi, my name is Donnie Luckett, and you're here with Cultures TV, your global diversity resource. We're here today with Carl Olson, who's a native of Nirock, Colorado. He has mixed parentage from two different cultures, and that's the focus of the conversation today. Carl is what I call a TCK. I presented that to him when I first met him, and he's kind of like, "What are you talking about?" So we'll chat a little bit about that today and how he grew up and how it changed his worldview. So, Carl,
What's
how
up?
are you?
I'm all right. It's
Good.
good to be
Glad to
here.
have you here.
Yeah.
So, tell me about Naiwa and your parentage and how you grew up in Naiwa and what it was like for you.
Okay. So I identify as mixed race. I identify as Japanese and white. My mother is born in, or was born and was raised in Japan, and only moved to the United States when she married my dad about 31 years ago. My dad's a white dude from Illinois, and I guess one of the questions I always get asked is, was he in the military? And he
Yeah.
wasn't, so that's kind of cool, I guess.
Yeah, I think it
But
is.
yeah, or something. It breaks the norm. And I also get the question, how did your parents meet? Because it's across the Pacific, which is a pretty big body of water. And what happened was my mom was visiting the U.S., one of her friends at a university, and my dad was stationed in Japan because he worked for IBM, and he was like home to visit family or whatever. And they're on the same flight to Japan. Um, and I remember when my dad told me the story, he's like, "Oh, it's so romantic. It was love at first sight." And my mom's like, "No, are you kidding me?" And she's told a story about how she was like, "What the hell is this guy doing here in coach class in a business suit, drinking peanuts out of the bag, like a gross American?" was kind of her language. And my dad was like, basically, after I was old enough, he's like, "Oh, I just hit on your mom, asked her to be my tour guide in Japan and all that kind of stuff." So, luckily for me, um, my dad ended up earning her respect somehow. But you know, the reasons that he gave were she really liked rugby. My dad played rugby, and he started to fall in love when she started naming like Japanese rugby players. And then they went to the bars, and she drunk my dad under the table. He's like, "You're the first woman to do that, and we're gonna get married." It was kind of the narrative there. And my mom told me that my dad was the first man that she ever really respected because he was himself so much. And so um, that's kind of the thing that happened there. Lucky for me and my brother. Um, and so I was born in Danbury, Connecticut. Um, and I was raised in Nirock, Colorado, which is a very white, upper class area. Um, and one of the predominant questions that I got growing up was, "What are you?" It wasn't even like, "Where are you from?" necessarily, but it was a
Mm-hmm.
lot of "What are you?" And it was a lot from strangers and friends alike. And so I think I don't know really how I knew the answer. I think just observationally I stood out, um, and I just kind of knew intuitively that they were asking about my race, and so it was easy for me to say, "Oh, I'm Japanese," and they're like, "Oh," they figured out I was like some sort of puzzle piece. They figured out what kind of
It's like
brown
I
I
see
was, like.
something, but I'm not sure what it is.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and I was lucky though because I had the privilege of flying to Japan every summer as a kid because my mother missed family all the time, um, and so I've done some research with mixed students at CSU in particular, and they talk about how there's an emptiness in their cultural soul if they didn't get some of the culture
Yeah.
from one of their parents' homeland.
And
And
that's
so I was really lucky to get like fulfilled
to
in
be
that
able to
sense.
do
I grew
that.
up bilingual, visited Japan a bunch, so I knew where I came from.
And we're going to go more into that in just a second. We're going to go away, and when we come back, we'll talk to Carl a little bit more about the culture as part of his identity.